Hello, everyone. I have been practicing in the field of metaphysics for 9 years. I do not do this full time. Most of the time, I help friends or clients referred by friends with questions about fate, timing, relationships, career, and life direction. Today, I want to draw on these 9 years of practical experience and talk seriously about a few questions. What is fate in the eyes of a practitioner? Does fortune telling actually mean anything? And for ordinary people like us, is it really possible to change our luck? Let's begin with the first question. What is fate? When people talk about fate, they usually mean the fate of one individual person. But in reality, there is also the fate of a region and the fate of an entire era. This is what the Chinese tradition calls heavenly timing, earthly advantage, and human harmony, or more idiomatically, the right time, the right place, and the right people. Their importance descends in that order. Timing comes first. Place, meaning the environment you are in, comes second. Only after that comes the human factor, which is the destiny of the individual. So where does a person's fate come from? Imagine a vast consciousness that gets bored and wants to experience life. So, almost like creating an AI, it builds an enormous virtual world and splits itself into countless independent units of consciousness. These are what we call human souls. Everyone is playing inside this world, which is why we are born into different families, take on different jobs, and occupy different social positions. At the deepest level, what determines the fate of each soul is cause and effect, or karma. In plain English, you reap what you sow. But many people feel fate is unfair. Why? Because cause and effect needs time to reveal itself. Many people do not live long enough to see the full result. For example, many writers only become famous after they die, so if you want to understand a person's fate, what matters most? Time. More specifically, the amount of time needed for cause and effect to unfold. And where does time come from? It comes from the movement of the planets. Why is a year 365 days? Because that is how long it takes the Earth to orbit the Sun. The moving planets, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and so on, generate time through their motion. Time then allows cause and effect to take shape. For example, suppose you save a fox on a snowy mountain by feeding it a duck. You have to wait until the fox completes its spiritual cultivation before it can come back and repay your kindness. Your act of saving the fox is the seed. The fox's cultivation is the passage of time. The fox returning to repay you is the fruit ripening at a particular moment. So because the planets are the true source of time, they act as agents of cause and effect. When astrology reads a birth chart and looks at whether a planet is in dignity or debility, in domicile or exaltation, in detriment or fall, it is essentially checking the score you have with a certain agent that records karma. For example, if your sun is in Leo in the 10th house, your career is very likely to be strong. That placement is a kind of recorded score. Fate is the people, events, and circumstances you meet at different stages of life. Some people help you, some people harm you. These encounters are all manifestations of cause and effect. Your birth chart records your scores in different areas: family background, natural gifts, wealth potential, and so on. This is fate. Then what is luck? For example, your chart may show benefactor stars, but when will you actually rise? You have to wait for the right 10-year luck cycle to arrive. Only when that cycle activates the benefactors in your original chart does your life reach a turning point. There is a saying, when the wind is strong enough, even a pig can fly. Compared with personal luck and individual ability, timing and place are still more important. Take Elon Musk. The most important reason he became Elon Musk is that he caught the timing of the technology boom. At the same time, he chose Silicon Valley in the United States, an environment extremely friendly to innovation, as his place. If he had chosen to build his career in South Africa, India, or Europe, he absolutely would not have become the Elon Musk we see today. That is the difference a larger environment makes. Environment affects people more than many of us realize. If you are constantly denied, suppressed, or criticized by the people around you, and more than 80% of them do not recognize your value, then instead of endlessly blaming yourself, you should seriously ask whether your current environment is suitable for you. Think of a bottle of water. Put it in a supermarket, on an airplane, or in a desert. The water itself has not changed. The larger environment defines its value. People are the same. What matters is finding an environment where you can develop properly instead of staying in a place that does not suit you and slowly burning yourself out. That serves no purpose. Given all of this, does fortune telling actually matter? Let me give the conclusion first. For the vast majority of people, fortune telling does not change much in practical terms. More often, what it changes is your mindset. There are fixed parameters in fate. Whether your career can succeed, whether you will have money, whether marriage will benefit you or drain you, these things already have a rough framework from birth. Looking at the final outcome, whether you get a reading or not, what is meant to happen will still happen. What a practitioner can do is give advice. If your life is a 7 out of 10, a good practitioner may help you bring it up to 7.5 or keep you from falling to 6.5. But no practitioner can turn a 7-point life into a 9-point life. For example, if someone earning 1,000 USD a month goes to a fortune teller hoping to become someone earning 50,000 USD a month, that is impossible. They will probably just waste the consultation fee. Of course, if we are talking about someone like Li Ka-shing making a business decision involving hundreds of millions, then consulting an excellent feng shui master as a reference can be worthwhile. The scale of the money involved is completely different. Some people will object, but certain celebrities changed their names after seeing a master, and then they suddenly became famous. Isn't that proof that fortune-telling can change destiny? You have to understand the logic of cause and effect. It is not that they became famous because they changed their name. It is that they had already reached the point in their luck cycle where fame was supposed to arrive. Because their fortune and life level were about to shift, fate arranged for their external environment, including their name, to change in response. Even if they had not changed their name, they would still have become famous once that luck arrived. Many people can feel this kind of shift in real life. When you move from bad luck into good luck, the people who drain you disappear, benefactors show up, things start to move smoothly. On the other hand, when you are about to enter bad luck, petty people and troublemakers begin to appear. At that point, even if you go looking for a master, you are very likely to run into a fraud. The more you try to fix your feng shui, the worse it gets. Random tinkering will not help. So when a person feels lost, if they are about to turn a corner, they will naturally meet an elder, a friend, or even a practitioner who gives them a hand. That is the blessing already carried in their fate. They meet those people because their luck is about to turn, not because those people made their luck turn. So what can be changed? Your attitude, your response, and the severity of an event. In other words, you may not be able to erase the event, but you may be able to make a big problem smaller. For example, some people's Bazi charts show a very strong personality and a tendency to clash with others. In Chinese metaphysics, one such pattern is called hurting officer sees officer. When the flowing year arrives, conflict is bound to happen. So what can be changed? The fact that conflict will occur that year may be fixed, but your attitude is not fixed. If you confront everything head on, a situation that might originally have been an 8 out of 10 in severity can be pushed to a 10. If you endure a little and accept a temporary loss, something that might have cost you 30,000 USD may end up being settled for 20,000 USD. Another example. If you are running a business and this year's cycle indicates financial loss, what can be changed is that you choose not to add more investment. You maintain the status quo. Even if you lose what is already on the table, you do not increase the exposure. That is how you reduce the loss. Another example is a vehicle hurdle, meaning a period prone to vehicle-related accidents. I had a client who kept being hit or brushed by vehicles in 2016. I advised him to go to a Taoist temple and spend around 100 yuan on a Tai Sui talisman. After he got the talisman, he was still hit, but by a bicycle. Being hit by a vehicle was fixed, but through adjustment, the car became a bicycle, reducing the severity to the lowest possible level. That is the kind of change that can happen. What cannot be changed? Your upper ceiling in life, your social stratum, and certain ties with close family or spouses. No matter how an ordinary person tries to change fate, they will not become Elon Musk. As for close relationships, take spouse restriction patterns as an example. In Chinese metaphysics, restriction is a neutral technical term. It does not mean the person is morally bad. Look at Dong Mingju. Her career truly took off after her husband passed away, when she went south to work hard in order to provide a better life for her child. The spouse restriction pattern in her chart was also the reason her career could succeed. In Bazi, the husband and career are both related to the officer stars. Her chart obtains wealth and status by controlling the officer stars. That is why many women who are exceptionally capable in their careers do not have easy marriages. If a natal chart has a severe spouse restriction pattern, no amount of adjustment will turn it into a traditional support the husband and raise the children, grow old together kind of marriage. There is also romantic destiny, Many beautiful and outstanding women keep meeting married men or keep being cheated on, and then they start doubting themselves. Take the Bazi chart often circulated for actress Zhao Ling as an example. Ding Mao year pillar, Zheng Shu month pillar, Wu Shu day pillar. In that chart, Mao Wood is the direct officer representing romantic fate. It generates Ding fire, and Ding fire generates Wu earth, so originally it is favorable toward her. But Mao Wood sits closer to Geng Shu in the month pillar. In this reading, that means the men she encounters either have unforgettable past relationships or marital history, or the relationship is prone to third-party interference, with the third party being able to take the primary position, because Zheng Shu is closer to Ding Mao. This kind of romantic pattern is carried in the original chart. It has nothing to do with whether the person is attractive or accomplished. It cannot be changed. The same applies to men. For example, a chart like Nicholas Tisa's may contain signs of being fated to marry someone divorced or to experience a spouse's infidelity. That too is difficult to change. When facing fixed patterns that cannot be shaken, the best response is to accept them calmly. We have discussed what can be changed and what cannot. Now let's talk about the next question. Do those so-called luck-changing methods actually work? If you still believe that buying a crystal or paying for a ritual can completely transform your wealth luck, you can close this video now. My answer is, basically, that is a scam. The so-called effect is like cosmetic surgery. Someone becomes beautiful through surgery and enjoys better romantic luck for a short time, but later, as they age, the side effects appear. At its core, this is borrowing from the future. If you buy a crystal and feel your luck has improved, most of the time it is psychological. Even if a master gives you a talisman and pulls you from 5.5 back to 6, that is still treating the symptom, not the root. The problem is this. When your luck is bad, even choosing a house may lead you to a bad one. When your luck is good, you may casually find excellent feng shui. What matters is the person's own store of blessings and merit. I once read a Bazi chart where, in 2013, the Guisi year arrived. The person's 10-year luck pillar was also Guisi. In the original chart, high water served as his useful god. This situation is known as Sui Yun Bing Lin, when the flowing year coincides with the luck pillar. In this case, it created a strong clash that directly assaulted his useful god. That year, due to commercial development, his family had to relocate their ancestral graves. Before the relocation, his father had earned tens of millions. After the move, the family fortune declined sharply, and all his father's brothers who were in business went bankrupt. On the surface, it appeared that moving the ancestral graves had damaged the family's feng shui, leading to the downfall. However, upon examining his Bazi chart, it was precisely in that flowing year, when the flowing year coincided with the luck pillar, that his useful god, high water, was completely clashed and broken. As a result, the entire chart structure declined. So can these things really be changed by external means? From my point of view, I think they are fated. To be honest, when I was younger, in my early 20s, I did not believe in fate at all. I thought everything depended on the self. But as I gained more life experience, and especially after entering this field and observing countless life trajectories, I had to admit that some things really do seem fixed by an unseen order. Even good ancestral feng shui requires enough blessings to maintain. Otherwise, fate will take it back at a certain time. So what is meant to come will come sooner or later. What we can truly and completely change is our own mindset. At this point, some people may think, if the broad direction of fate cannot be changed, then surely I can still consult a practitioner when something happens, so I can seek good fortune and avoid harm? When you want a reading, practitioners can be divided into 3 levels. The highest level is almost non-existent in the modern world, so I will not discuss it. The first level belongs to technique. This type of practitioner treats fortune-telling like a math problem. If they're skilled, they can reach about 80% accuracy by applying formulas. So why not 100%? Because Chinese metaphysics has a concept called Qiu Sheng, or symbolic interpretation. In other words, it's the challenge of translating symbolic patterns into actual events in real life. For example, a chart may show that in a certain year, there will definitely be a major problem in love or marriage. But it may not be possible to determine with 100% certainty whether that means divorce, separation, or something else. For practitioner at this level, everything is formula-based. For example, a Bazi chart may have the pattern herding officer paired with direct seal. In the original chart, the herding officer is strong, direct seal is weak, and the daymaster is weak. Following the formula, when the 10-year luck cycle moves into seal stars or companion stars, that should be good luck. But exactly how it will be good and how good it can become is not something they can see in detail. The second level belongs to Tao. Practitioners at this level have some kind of connection with a higher dimensional field, often through a spiritual lineage, shaman, or a faith. It is like the universe has a security camera recording your destiny, and this person has obtained permission to view the footage. Some blind school, Hmong Pai experts can hear the sound of Na Yin, a kind of intuitive perception. In traditions like Chumashan spirit medium tradition in northeast China or Korean Mudang shamans, the practitioner often doesn't calculate anything directly. The message comes through something behind them. These people can be very accurate about everyday details, but honestly, most people who claim they can communicate with spirits are fake. Real second-level practitioners are rare. There are also a very small number of people who do not have what you might jokingly call a business license from an ancestral master and who forcibly connect to higher dimensional fields on their own. That is extremely draining to their health. If you only want a reading out of curiosity and have no real-life confusion or difficulty, my advice is, do not spend money on fortune-telling at all. There is no need. If you are curious, use AI. Current AI mostly recites from the textbook. ChatGPT and DeepSeek tend to copy book knowledge mechanically, and once a Bazi chart becomes slightly complicated, they can easily identify the useful god incorrectly. By comparison, the paid version of Grok is the most accurate I have seen at determining the overall chart structure. For a free option, I recommend Google's Gemini. It is relatively accurate on broad structure, but it has one weakness. It tends to follow the user's tone and suddenly change its position. It is best used by someone who already has some foundation in metaphysics and can guide it. Since AI exists, why do I say you should not spend 10 or 20 USD on a human reading? Because practitioners who charge that little are, at best, about the same level as AI. Some are not even as accurate as Gemini. That is basically a tax on gullibility. Why do low-level practitioners and AI get things wrong? Let me give a very specific example. Suppose a person's original Bazi chart has extremely strong dry earth. This person likes water and wet earth, such as Chen earth. If AI or a low-level practitioner sees a 10-year luck cycle of Wu Chen, which contains moist earth, they will probably judge it as good luck. They will think, great, this can balance the dryness. But in reality, this may be a very bad luck cycle. Why? Because the original chart has too much dry earth. Say dry earth makes up 80% of the chart, while the incoming wet earth from the luck cycle is only 20%. Once these forces interact, the water is instantly baked dry, creating even more dry earth. The luck becomes worse instead. The reverse is also true. If the original chart has extremely strong wet earth, metal, and water, and it needs fire and dry earth, then if the 10-year luck cycle brings only 20% dry earth without strong fire, that dry earth mixes with the 80% wet earth and turns into an even bigger mass of mud. That is worse too. AI cannot calculate these slightly more complex dynamics of 5 forces strength. Practitioners who charge 10 or 20 USD usually cannot calculate them either. Their skill level is genuinely limited. If they cannot even grasp basic structures, there is no need to continue with the rest of the reading. If you truly want a reading, and your budget is not at least 50 USD or above, you basically will not meet a practitioner who can really read events. Another point, the practitioner's level of worldly understanding matters too. A practitioner who usually advises officials and wealthy elites may not be able to give suitable advice to someone in the countryside raising chickens and geese. The reverse is also true. So if you do not want to waste money on fortune telling, the issue is not only the practitioner's technical skill, it is also their level of understanding. Next, I want to share some practical experience from the years I spent reading charts for clients. First, fortune telling is not about answering every question directly. You have to consider what the client can emotionally bear and avoid absolute pronouncements. For example, when people ask, "Is this person my destined partner? Can we get married?" I never give an absolute answer. Some words carry karmic consequences once spoken. It is not worth intervening in someone else's marriage fate with a definitive judgment just for a consultation fee. Why do I say this? Whether a person's chart suggests that marriage and relationships will benefit them or drain them, that can be discussed with the client. But whether one specific person can become their spouse is something I can only answer to a limited extent. Romantic fate is the topic I least want to get involved in, because love has nothing to do with whether you work hard or whether you are outstanding. If two people truly have the fate to be together, opposition from others will not stop them. If they do not have the fate to continue, clinging to each other is meaningless. If the bond is not there, it is simply not there. So in many cases, there is not much point in asking. And if it is a karmic love debt, and I help the client avoid it, who carries the other person's resentment and karmic consequence? I do not want to carry it, and I have no obligation to carry it. I once had a client, a love-struck young man from a family that lived off rental income. He had known a girl for only a few months and was determined to marry her, but his parents objected. I looked at the charts. Both of them were still young, so I framed it this way to the young man: keep dating first. There is no need to rush. If your feelings are genuine, 1 or 2 years should not matter, right? If you still want to marry, wait until this girl enters her next 10-year luck cycle and decide then. That would be better. The young man could accept this. His parents also felt less pressure in the moment and could keep observing. That is what flexibility means. Also, how much you say depends on the client's age and psychological resilience. In 2017, the Ding Yu year, a girl in her early 20s came to me after a breakup. She was completely devastated. Her Bazi day pillar was Yi Cho, and both the month branch and hour branch were Wu Fire. This is a typical food god controls 7 killings pattern. The 2 Wu Fire branches had roasted the Chu Earth. Since Chu Earth represents her marriage fate, it means her only possible marriage connection was completely locked inside the Chu Earth of her day branch. Could I really tell a heartbroken girl in her early 20s? Your chart is harmful to your husband, so marriage is hopeless. That would be too cruel. So I shifted the focus. I told her that in relationships, her effort might produce only half the result, with twice the effort, and she might not receive the return she wanted. But if she put that same energy into her career, she could get twice the result with half the effort. I also looked at her Vedic chart. Her sun was in Taurus in the 10th house. A few years later, she would enter the sun Antardasa. The flowing year would also be Shincho, which strengthened the power of the 7 killings. Her career luck that year would be excellent. Later, she did get promoted and received a raise. She specifically came back to thank me. So sometimes, when a practitioner redirects the topic, clients should not keep pressing. The answer you force out may not be pleasant to hear. Second, what is meant to be yours will eventually be yours. Some things that are written into your fate will appear. They will not vanish just because of temporary setbacks. In 2018, when China's job market was still relatively decent, a girl asked me about work. Her Bazi had a Ren Shu day pillar and Wu Shu month pillar, with no supporting elements in the whole chart. It was an extremely pure, follow the 7 killing structure. I judged that she would definitely enter a large company that year. She said in despair, I have sent out 1,000 resumes and heard nothing back. I told her, you are not hearing back because you are applying in the wrong direction. Keep casting a wide net. 2 or 3 months later, she crossed into a completely different field and joined a very famous film and entertainment company as a celebrity manager. Sometimes, being rejected 1,000 times just means the positions in front of you are not worthy of your chart. The configuration fate intends to give you will not be cancelled just because you were temporarily rejected 1,000 times. In situations like this, fortune-telling is useful because it can give the client confidence. I also remember a girl studying overseas who switched paths halfway and took a legal qualification exam. She was very smart, but the flowing year was extremely draining. She missed the passing line by 1 point. She fell into serious self-doubt. I looked at her chart and told her, this is purely because the luck is low. Keep applying the same effort and try again next year. You will pass. She did pass the following year. Later, she told me that the reading had given her tremendous emotional support at the time. Many times, fortune-telling is a psychological safety net during a low point. Third, understand the flowing year and lie low when your luck is at a low point. In 2023, the Guai Mao year, I suddenly had several clients with G Earth Day Master asking about graduation. G Earth is cultivated field soil. It especially dislikes Yi Wood and Mao Wood, which are like weeds. So in the Guai Mao year, many G Earth people had problems, especially those with weekday master. Client 1, Jia Chen month pillar, Jia Mao day pillar. Jia and Ji combine, but Mao and Chen pierce each other. This is a typical pattern of appearing harmonious with supervisors on the surface while being at odds underneath. Under the direct officer sits Rob Wealth. This kind of person often brushes past power and opportunity without truly obtaining them, unless the 10-year luck cycle resolves the problem. In the spring of Guai Mao, his project was extremely painful. When Fire and Earth monthly cycles arrived, he changed advisors. Things became much smoother, and his research results finally had hope. He later told me that every spring felt uncomfortable for him. That is a classic case of a weak G Earth Day Master, with Mao Wood acting as unfavorable 7 killings. Client 2, a PhD student facing delayed graduation because her experiments could not produce data. In the original chart, Shu punishes Chu, which opens the food god storage to control the Yi Wood 7 killings. However, during the Gui Mao flowing year and her 10-year luck cycle, it formed a Hai Mao Wei Wood Bureau. The output stars, which are metal in nature, in the original chart could no longer control such strong wood. With the 7 killings uncontrolled and severely attacking the Daymaster, she felt on the verge of depression. This was probably the first major setback of her life. She started denying her own ability and wondering whether everything before had simply been luck. After reading her Bazi, I told her, "You are very capable. This is purely due to unfavorable timing. You need to wait until the Mao wood weakens and the metal output stars strengthen so that the 7 killings can be properly controlled. You must endure until the Chu month at the end of the year, or after the start of spring." Sure enough, by the Chu month at year's end, her experiments progressed. After the start of spring, her dissertation began moving onto the right track. I also saw that her 9th house in the Vedic chart was afflicted, meaning higher education, benefactor luck, and mentors were naturally unfavorable areas for her. If she had consulted me during graduate school, I would not have advised her to pursue a PhD. She herself said that if she could choose again, she probably would not do it. Client 3. Another G Earth Day master, but this person was a master's student. His strict advisor blocked his thesis, so he missed the first round of defense. He had to wait until the final round next year, with the possibility of delayed graduation. He asked whether he should pursue a PhD or start working. I looked at the chart. Again, the 9th house was damaged. He was extremely intelligent, but I did not recommend a PhD for the time being. Working would be better. Otherwise, he could end up like the previous lady, spending years under a bad advisor and suffering for no reason. On the other hand, some people are simply born for academia. I once met a girl from a rural family in a province famous for its intensely competitive college entrance exams. Her family had no background at all. Yet everything went smoothly, and she obtained direct admission to a doctoral program at a 985 university, beating many competitors whose conditions were better than hers. Even she felt there was a huge element of luck in it. When I looked at her Vedic chart, the sun was in Leo in the 9th house, the house of higher education. The sun represents male benefactors. This means her advisor would naturally like her and promote her. If someone like that asks me whether to pursue a PhD, I would strongly recommend it. Fourth, the ultimate purpose of fortune-telling is to find the lane with the highest return. A practitioner has to be flexible. For example, a girl once asked me about career. Her Bazi showed that if she worked a normal job, she would probably become an ordinary teacher inside the public system, with her ceiling visible from day one. But her 7th house, the house related to marriage, was configured extremely well. So I advised her, do not obsess over workplace competition and promotion. Put more energy into finding a good partner. The overall material return she could obtain through marriage might be several times what she could get from work. The same logic applies to men. Some men are naturally fated to prosper through wealthy female partners. Forcing them to work a conventional job honestly would just waste resources. Of course, this is only advice for maximizing benefit. How to choose is still up to the person. In conclusion, practice is the only real test. In the process of reading charts, unless the practitioner belongs to the second level I mentioned earlier, many structures have to be confirmed by working backward from facts. This is how you rectify or lock in a chart. For example, a commenter once provided a Bazi chart said to belong to Patty Ho. Ding Si year pillar, Ren Zi month pillar, Xin Hai day pillar, Ji Hai hour pillar. If I did not know this was Patty Hu, I would not be able to determine immediately which 10 god represented her mother. Direct seal or indirect seal. If it were direct seal, it would be Wu Earth hidden inside Sea Fire, farther away from the Daymaster. If it were indirect seal, it would be G Earth, close and right beside the self. Combining this with reality, her biological mother was always by her side, so her mother is the indirect seal, G Earth. At the same time, the Jia wood hidden in the 2 high water branches represents her mother's romantic partners. You have to use real facts to work backward and confirm the structure. Only then does interpreting the chart become meaningful. I once had a client whose chart was inaccurate no matter what I read. I told her directly, I cannot read this chart. She then said she had consulted many practitioners before and none of them had been accurate. So I asked, have you ever considered that your birth date itself might be wrong? Because for fortune telling to be completely inaccurate is still a relatively low probability event. In short, if the chart cannot be locked in, then whether it is because the ascendant is near a boundary, the Bazi hour pillar is near a boundary, or my own skill is not enough to confirm the chart, I will not continue the reading even if the client wants me to. There is no point. My fee has always been flexible for people introduced by friends. They pay what feels right. But for online clients, the threshold is no less than 50 USD, with any additional payment left to the person's own judgment. If your budget is below that, then let us not waste each other's time. Fortune telling depends heavily on affinity. If you feel an inexplicable liking or trust toward a certain practitioner, you can try consulting them. It is like following celebrities. If you cast the charts of several celebrities you especially like and discover that most of them have strong water, then it is very possible that your 5 phases favor water. Practitioners work the same way. Even if a practitioner is only average in skill, if your Basi favors fire and that practitioner has extremely strong fire, they may still be able to give you many useful suggestions. Conversely, if the practitioner's skill is high but their chart clashes with yours, you may finish the reading feeling nothing but irritation. No one's life in this world is perfect, and no one's life is completely worthless. Fortune telling is never about passively surrendering to fate. It is about seeing the hand you are holding clearly. It helps you understand what is irreversible, what can still be fought for, and, more often than not, it helps shift your mindset. If you have watched this video and need a reading, and if you feel we have some affinity, you are welcome to add my contact information for a consultation. Payment methods are flexible, but I prefer USDT, USDC, or similar cryptocurrencies. That is all for this episode. Thank you for watching.